Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. May is National Teen Pregnancy Prevention Month, and teen pregnancy rates in Milwaukee have dropped 50% since 2006, and the United Way of Greater Milwaukee has played a huge role in that success. Our first guest is Nicole Angresano, who is the Vice President of Community Impact with the United Way of Greater Milwaukee. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
And I think it's a great place to start by telling us more about the United Way of Greater Milwaukee and what it is you do in and for the community.
Well, United Way of Greater Milwaukee has been in this community for over 100 years.
Wow.
We are, in fact, the largest funder of health and human services in Milwaukee. Some of your viewers might know us better from our fundraising capacity, which is that we have the extraordinary opportunity to collectively raise funds from over 70,000 donors every year. And then my responsibility is to make sure that those funds are invested in a way that is purposeful and has impact on the community.
I love that, and we'll talk a little bit later about how the viewers can at least be aware of how they can help make a difference with that campaign when it comes back around. So thanks for sharing that. Part of your vision is to produce significant and measurable results in the areas of education, income, and health. So why are those specific areas so important?
Well, if you think about education, income, and health, those are basically the building blocks for healthy people, healthy neighborhoods, healthy communities. We invest in over 160 programs, and each one of those programs touches at least one of those areas. What we also know, Andrea, is that those are not separate and distinct issues. When a person has greater health, their children have better education outcomes. When a family is able to earn income that's a family sustaining wage, they're going to have better health. So all of those things are interrelated and critical to having healthy families and communities.
It all makes a lot of sense. And before we get to the subject of teen pregnancy prevention, I'd like for us to talk more about the big campaign that happens every year and how people at home can be ready to help make a difference.
Well, thank you. I can't tell you how gratifying it is to live in a community that's as generous as Milwaukee. We are so incredibly proud and inspired every year at United Way by the number of people that come forth with generous donations. And those are donations that range from $1 to millions of dollars, and every bit helps. You will hear more about that campaign as we get closer to September. We run a very active campaign, particularly in the months of September and October, and then we look forward to celebrating with the community in December as we announce that we've surpassed our annual goal. And so, but really for United Way, we're here year-round and we're working year-round. And so while the campaign is a critical piece of what we do, and again, we're so gratified by the community members that give to us, we're using those dollars and investing those dollars 365 days a year.
Absolutely, and such a long list of organizations that benefit from the United Way. So those dollars, like you said, go a very long way. So thank you for sharing that, and we will keep our ears open around September to be a part of that and have you come on and talk about it for sure.
Thank you.
And another part of United Way of Greater Milwaukee's vision is to be recognized as a leader in affecting long-term societal change. And with that said, programs and aggressive awareness campaigns funded by the United Way and your community partners, you're being credited with the major decline that we are seeing in the teen pregnancy rate right here in Milwaukee. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, what I have to say is this has been 7 years of incredible community-wide collaboration. United Way gets a lot of credit for this, and we're really proud to serve as the backbone organization for these efforts. But I cannot begin to tell you how many people are involved every day in ensuring that our young people have access to information, helping them make better choices, and that's why you're seeing the birth rates going down. In 2008, we came together and said, we need to set an aggressive goal, and we set a pretty audacious goal, actually. We said in 2008 that we were going to reduce births to teens by 50% by the year 2015. And quite frankly, that's unprecedented in terms of community level goals. But we did that, and we've actually met that goal, exceeded it even, and 3 years early, which is extraordinary. So what we're basically saying today is that in 2012, half as many young people between 15 and 17 were becoming parents as in 2006, and that's tremendous.
That is tremendous, and I'm excited to hear about some of the ways that you've been effective in making those numbers a reality. It's you know, it's refreshing, especially on a show where we're constantly looking at what's wrong, to hear that a solution has been found and that something that you set as far as numbers and changing things around has actually worked.
Yeah.
That's great news. So looking at some of the scenarios that go along with teen pregnancy, Milwaukee Mayor Tom Barrett, he has been quoted as saying teen pregnancy is intricately linked with poverty, crime, and lack of skilled or educated labor. And stats also point out that the long-term cost of a Milwaukee teenager having a baby is estimated at around $79,000. And girls born to teen mothers, they're 83% more likely to be teen mothers themselves. So those are some pretty hard stats to swallow. And I guess your goal in knowing these things going in was to somehow tap into these stats and make changes. So let's talk about some of the things that you've been able to do to change around these numbers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's extraordinary about this initiative is the breadth of it. So what we know about teen pregnancy and teen births is that all teens are not getting pregnant for the same reasons. Mm-hmm. That every situation is different, and so it's really important to us, and it has been since the beginning, to explore and implement a breadth of prevention activities, and that includes probably the most visible activity to the viewers, which is our public awareness campaign. Through the extraordinary leadership of Gary Miller and Serve Marketing, we have blanketed this community in really aggressive ad tactics that don't talk. It's not about shaming kids about being teen parents. We learned very, very on from the target audience, which I am not, that the best way to talk to young people about teens, about teen pregnancy rather, is to help them understand how challenging it is to be a parent.
Yeah.
It's challenging under the best circumstances. It's challenging to be a parent if you've waited until you're an adult and you have a job and insurance, but it's really difficult to do when you're a teen. And so most of our ad campaigns, particularly those aimed at teens, have reinforced the message that having a baby is expensive, that having a baby as a teen makes it more likely that you're not going to finish high school, that having a baby as a teen makes it more likely that that child will either become incarcerated and or a teen parent in a much higher rate than average. And so we've really tried very hard to live not in a place of judgment, not in a place of emotion, but saying, this is the data, these are the facts, and we want to help you make better choices for yourself. And so our ad campaign, which has ranged from pregnant boys on the sides of buses, I think
everybody was talking about it.
I think a lot of people remember that ad. It was even adopted recently by Chicago,
really?
Because it's such an extraordinary message, which is that as a community we had become complacent and we stopped talking about why. Let me first say, when teens become pregnant or parents as teens, we still need to embrace them fully and give them every service and opportunity around. We don't want to shame them or disgrace them. At the same time, we want fewer teens to become parents, and we have to be honest about that. And so our ad campaign has focused on the teens, it's focused on the parents and the critical role they need to play in this, and it's focused on the broader community, including the business community. You mentioned earlier the tax burden of having a community with a significant teen pregnancy problem, and that's true. Most babies born to teen moms are paid for by taxpayer dollars. That's just a fact. And so if we really want to get at this issue, business leaders and people who maybe don't think it affects them personally need to realize that it affects all of us from an economic standpoint.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Serve Marketing and Gary Miller. He was just here not too long ago talking about how Serve Marketing helps nonprofit organizations in getting the word out and raising awareness. And this is just a great example of the work that he and Serve Marketing have done to get that message across. And wanted to talk specifically about your latest campaign, which actually sends a very strong message to parents. How so?
You know, here's the thing about it. Parents maybe feel awkward, nervous, strange about talking to their kids and teens about sex. Some of them will even say that they don't think that their kids want to hear it from them, but it's actually the opposite. kids really do want their parents to be their first and primary sexual health educator. Nobody loves them more. There's nobody they trust more. So our job at United Way is to make sure that all parents have the tools they need to do the best they can to be that educator.
Yeah.
It's hard for those of us that live in this space to talk to our own kids about sex, but I know that there's a big difference between me going into a classroom and talking about it than me talking to my own 7-year-old.
Yeah,
much different
because
conversation.
when my mother used to try to talk, I used to go, oh, okay, I don't want to hear
but even
it.
though you were going, I'm guessing that some of that sunk in. And what we want to help parents do is understand that, first of all, it's not one talk. This idea of the talk where you have your teen on the, first of all, if you're not talking to your teen till they're 17, that's going to be a little bit of a problem.
And
right?
they've
There's a lot
already
of stuff
heard.
they've already heard.
Yeah, and
right?
it's probably wrong.
Much of it is wrong.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
So we really want parents to feel empowered to start those conversations much earlier,
Yes.
To talk to their kids in a way that's still age appropriate, and we give them lots of tips about what you can talk to your kindergartner about. What happens if your third grader is watching a TV show and somebody on the show is pregnant? How can you work these conversations into everyday life in a way that really lays a foundation for having conversations lately? And so in October, what you'll see from us for the 6th year in a row is that we sort of blitz the community with parent-child communication toolkits.
Okay.
These come in English and Spanish, and they give parents tons of tips about what to say, how to say it, who to ask for help if you're not sure what to talk about. And it's really, we really want parents to feel empowered and capable in this area.
Absolutely, and there are some different things that you have implemented with the campaign that's going on now, and your interactive YouTube quiz. GetTheSexFacts.com.
That's right. A lot of myths out there.
A lot of myths.
Incorrect
It's surprising.
information.
Like
Yes.
you're like, really? People believe that.
They really do.
Then heavy social media with YouTube and Twitter, and then hashtag sex myths. That's something that people can just kind of keep in mind. And the successful initiative of just seeing these numbers come down 50% over the years has now become a national model for community collaboration, including the White House Council for Community Solutions. You've got to be extremely proud of that.
We're so proud. And I have to tell you, just this week, we had the National Campaign to Prevent Teen and Unplanned Pregnancies President, Sarah Brown, come to Milwaukee to talk to our community about what an extraordinary effort this is. And we were just so proud to have someone of her stature who's been in this space for 20 years say to other communities, Milwaukee is getting it done. And what she said explicitly was that Milwaukee has a lot of significant issues. None of us sitting here or watching would deny that we have some challenges that we need to face head on.
Yep.
So if Milwaukee can do it in the midst of some critical issues that still need to be addressed, then other communities can do this too.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, things have changed so much from when you and I were kids.
Yes.
You know, we probably used to blush when couples were kissing on a movie or a TV sitcom, but now there's so much out there, especially with cable television, the internet, all of these things. And I'm looking at the television channels that specifically target young people, like maybe a MTV.
Sure.
They have shows called 16 and Pregnant, and it really drives home the message that it's not an easy task having a baby as a teen. So do you feel like these types of efforts are also helping nationwide to show kids this is not necessarily what you want to do?
You know, I do. I have mixed feelings about it, but I can tell you that the most recent data about 16 and pregnant is positive in that what it seems to suggest is that at the very least, young people who are sexually active might be taking a harder look at their contraceptive use when they see the outcomes of these young people who are having unprotected sex. And so I think as much as we want to sort of say, okay, there's this piece of television, as we all know, where there's and teens in particular are susceptible to this, which is to wanting to be famous, to wanting to be on television. So I always have this hesitation about, you know, are teens going to do X because they think X will get them on TV? But what the data seems to be saying is that the shows have done a good job really presenting an accurate portrait of how challenging it is to be a teen parent, and so for that I'm grateful.
Yes, well, I thank you so much for coming on and telling us about all the great things that you're doing. As we wrap up, I do want you to shed some light on your Healthy Girls project, because you've helped a large number of young women kind of get the get it in their heads that there are certain things that they need to do in order to be successful in life, and this project is one of the things that helps accomplish that.
I'm so glad you asked about it. The Healthy Girls Initiative, which is going on 13 years now, it even precedes the Fuller Teen Pregnancy Prevention Initiative, is our focused approach to making sure that all young people, girls and boys, have access to evidence-based curriculum. We know that young people, when they have access to facts, when they have access to information that is based in science and evidence, that's going to help them make better decisions. And that's why at United Way, we've committed, our largest funding around teen pregnancy goes into making sure that community-based organizations like Pearls for Teen Girls and Boys and Girls Clubs have the opportunity to share with their youth an evidence-based curriculum, in particular Making Proud Choices, which has been shown time after time to prevent sexually transmitted infections and to delay the onset of sexual activity. And that's what we're really talking about. What we know and what's important for people to realize is that giving young people information, exposing them to sex ed or human growth and development does not increase the opportunity, it does not increase their intention to have sex. What it does increase is their intention to either delay sexual behaviors if they're not already sexually active, or to use contraception if they are sexually active. And that's the two reasons that teens are getting pregnant less often. They're either delaying sex longer or they're using contraception correctly. And one reason for that is the extraordinary work that our community-based organizations and schools have done to make sure that more kids have opportunities to get evidence-based programming.
Sounds good to me. Thank you so much. And I would like to also add that Aurora Healthcare sponsors the Healthy Girls Initiative, correct?
They do.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by and sharing all of the great information and continued success with all that you do.
Thanks so much.
All right. Nicole Angresano is the Vice President of Community Impact for the United Way of Greater Milwaukee. For more information about anything that we've talked about today, you can log on to unitedwaymilwaukee.org or give them a call at 414-263-8100. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll find out more about a dynamic and innovative organization that helps girls achieve in school and avoid teen pregnancy. We'll meet a representative from Pearls for Teen Girls Incorporated right after this.